2020 has been a year of surprises for anyone involved in the amusement park industry. Unfortunately, with the COVID-19 outbreak hitting many parts of the world, this has caused many parks to be under restrictions, including capacity restrictions, which has caused some parks to delay rides that were supposed to open in 2020. Today I'll be discussing which coasters were planned for 2020 and talking about what is happening with those rides. Some of them have opened, some of them have been announced to be delayed, and some we just don't know. But we have enough information to make an accurate prediction. The one rule I will be following is that any coaster without a name will not be included on this list, because that is just a lot harder to track. Today's shout out goes to Airtime Productions. Airtime Productions is a very active member of the coaster community that puts out some great content on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to his channel and to follow him on Instagram as well. Both will be linked in the description. If you'd like to earn a shout out, make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and comment 2020. I repeat, 2020. Now, it's time to hop into the video. So first off, we will go over all the major coasters that have opened in 2020. Kicking off the list, we have Hurricane at Fun Spot Kissimmee. Hurricane opened on Christmas Eve 2019, so this technically shouldn't be counted as a 2020 coaster, but it was intended to be. The construction went really fast, so there were no issues getting this coaster open whatsoever, as it opened way before the American shutdown. West Coast Racers, Six Flags Magic Mountain. West Coast Racers was supposed to open in summer of 2019, but it got pushed back due to the delays in construction, which led to the coaster opening to the public in early January. There was a short period of time where this coaster was open to members and pass holders in 2019, but did not officially open until 2020. The coaster's opening was not interfered by the pandemic. However, the coaster only opened for about 2 months before the American shutdown and has not operated since. Texas Stingray, SeaWorld San Antonio. Texas's tallest and fastest wooden coaster was quickly constructed and opened on February 22nd, 2020. Very few people got to ride this coaster, and it was only open for a couple of weeks before the park underwent a 3-month closure, keeping people from riding the new GCI. Fortunately, the park reopened in June, and the ride has been subject to great reviews ever since. Vertica at
La Récré des Trois Cures.
Vertica was slated to open in spring of 2020, but its opening was pushed back due to the park's closure in May. The park reopened along with the grand opening of the new Gerstlauer Eurofighter. Objective Mars at Futuroscope. Objective Mars was opened shortly after France's shutdown due to the pandemic. The coaster is actually an indoor coaster that cost the park over $22 million to build. Hals über Kopf, Tripsdale. This became a suspended thrill coaster, was opened in late June after Tripsdale reopened at the end of May. The coaster looks like another great addition to the park. Candemonium, Hershey Park. Candemonium was supposed to open with the park in spring of 2020 as part of an expansion called Chocolate World that included a new entrance gate for the park. The coaster's construction was stopped in April of 2020 due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Construction continued in early May of 2020, and the coaster ran its first test runs. Candemonium opened on June 29th for pass holder preview and July 3rd to the public. Candemonium opened to great reviews. Chocolate Town is still being finished and will be completed in 2021. Orion at Kings Island. Kings Island was finally announced to get their long-awaited BMWA coaster in 2020. Orion was slated to open in April of 2020, but that was pushed back due to the COVID-19 pandemic in the United States. The coaster began testing in February, but that was halted due to restrictions. The park was given the okay to reopen in mid-June of 2020. Orion had its first preview on July 1st of 2020 and opened to pass holders on July 2nd. The coaster opened to general public later that month. The coaster has opened to mixed reviews by coaster enthusiasts. The coaster is also the centerpiece of the redone Area 72 of the park. Next, we will be moving on to some coasters that were publicly announced to be delayed. Jersey Devil coming to Six Flags Great Adventure. The world's largest single rail coaster was announced to come to Six Flags Great Adventure in August of 2019. Six Flags was already behind on the construction of this coaster and announced that it would not open until at least sometime in July 2020. Then the pandemic hit, construction stopped, and I think we all knew the nail was in the coffin. The park quietly announced on their website the coaster will not open until sometime in 2021. Now the question is, at this point, when will the coaster actually open? Some think it'll be opening day, but I feel like there are too many variables for that to be a given. I'll predict that it'll have a Memorial Day opening, but if capacity restrictions are still in place, this could really put its future in question for the time being. Aquaman Power Wave coming to Six Flags Over Texas. Aquaman has definitely had a very interesting history. This coaster was supposed to go to Six Flags Dubai, but that project did not work out, and it was announced that this coaster would be sent over to Six Flags Over Texas for the 2020 season. The coaster's construction was halted in March and hasn't been picked up since. The park would later announce that Aquaman Power Wave would open in 2021. I think that this coaster will open whenever capacity restrictions are up. Most of the coaster has been finished except for the station and queue area and a few other details. Abyssus coming to Energylandia. Abyssus is a Vekoma launch coaster that was scheduled to open in 2020. However, it was later announced that Abyssus would be delayed due to delays in construction caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, just like a lot of other coasters. Storm Chaser coming to Paulden's Park. Storm Chaser was announced to open in 2020 as England's first free-spinning roller coaster, as a clone of Sierra Sidewinder at Knott's Berry Farm. This coaster is part of an expansion called Tornado Springs, which will be a new themed land at the park. They announced that Storm Chaser along with Tornado Springs will open around Easter in 2021. Next up, we will be talking about coasters that haven't had an official announcement yet by the park. So we're actually going to be talking about the SeaWorld chain. None of the parks announced formal delays, but we heard in the earnings call that new for 2020 rides still under construction will be delayed in 2021. That can really push some people the wrong way, but I'll explain it and say what I really think it means. Icebreaker coming to SeaWorld Orlando. SeaWorld's Premier Rides launch coaster was announced to come in 2020, but after the park closed down due to the pandemic, construction stopped on the coaster and has not begun since. Since then, Premier Rides has filed a $2.7 million lien against SeaWorld Orlando. This means they can't open the ride until they pay it off. This coaster remains under construction, so it means it qualifies as a 2021 attraction at this point. As for when this coaster will open, there's a few obstacles. First, they need to finish construction. Second, they need to pay off the liens. And third, capacity restrictions will have to be lifted, because it doesn't really make any sense for them to open it when they're under a capacity restriction. So whenever those three things happen, will probably be when the coaster opens. I think it'll open sometime between Spring Break and Memorial Day 2020. Pantheon coming to Busch Gardens Williamsburg. The new Intamin Blitz coaster for Busch Gardens Williamsburg is announced to open in 2020. The coaster's construction was halted in April 2020. The park has been closed since January and just recently announced a phased reopening starting with a festival. The park has not been allowed to fully reopen due to ongoing capacity restrictions in the state. Pantheon is still under construction and will be delayed till 2021. It will most likely open in April of next year, in my opinion, due to the construction already being pretty far along. Purr coming to SeaWorld San Diego. The new B&M dive coaster that was supposed to open in spring of 2020 at SeaWorld San Diego looks like it's being delayed. This coaster's construction was moving very quickly as it began testing in early 2020. Unfortunately, the pandemic hit right when they were putting on the finishing touches. It appears that this coaster will not open in 2020 because the park has been closed for about 5 months. It doesn't look like they'll be opening this summer. If they do open, they'll probably be under some sort of capacity restrictions as well. Also, it doesn't help that one of the construction companies filed a $3.3 million lien against the park as well, so that's an issue by itself. It'll probably be a while before this coaster can open, and there's not too much of a timeline at this point. Iron Gwazi coming to Busch Gardens Tampa. Iron Gwazi is one of the biggest puzzles in the coaster community right now. This coaster tested briefly with riders in March before the park shut down for 3 months. RMC recently filed a lien against the park for the $3.5 million that the park owes for the ride. Construction crews were back on site recently, and it seems that construction will continue to finish the ride off. It appears that coaster fans will have to wait another year until they get to experience RMC's latest creation. Similarly to the other parks mentioned on this list, this coaster will likely not be open until capacity restrictions are up and Busch Gardens pays up. I'll go ahead and say it will have an April opening, but I wouldn't count on that. Sidewinder Safari coming to Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. This ride is a very interesting case compared to the other Six Flags rides. The other parks have announced that they will be opening their coasters in 2021. However, Six Flags has been mum on Sidewinder Safari. This ride was the first ride in the whole chain to be taken off the Discovery Kingdom's website. It's hard to say if this project will be delayed or cancelled. Six Flags Discovery Kingdom has remained closed since March and probably won't open for a while due to the rising cases in California. I'll go ahead and say this one will be delayed rather than cancelled, but I could be wrong. La Vipère coming to Laurent. This one is similar to Sidewinder Safari. Laurent hasn't said anything about this ride other than taking it off their website. Laurent just reopened, but I don't think that'll affect Vipère's opening. I think that Laurent will still get this in 2021. I've heard from people who visited the park that they are marketing it as a 2021 edition. This isn't really that big of an edition, so I don't think it's going to save them any money by not building it. Plus, it's a relocation, so they already have the track. FLY coming to Phantasialand. This one is pretty tough. I've heard rumors of this coaster testing. The park hasn't announced any sort of delay. Phantasialand likes to do a really good job with their outstanding theming on their new rides. This will be an interesting new Vekoma flying coaster. I think 2021 will be the safest guess for this attraction. Primordial coming to Lagoon. This coaster will likely be a highly themed experience like a Trial Tech dark ride or something of that nature. It looks like they've already done a lot of work on it, but I think there's probably a lot of work to go. Most agree at this point this will be a 2021 coaster. Danny's Blasting Bronco coming to Nickelodeon Universe. I saved the best for last. This Intamin launch coaster might go from a 2019 coaster to a 2021 coaster. The park struggled to get this ride open through its very short 6 months of operation before the COVID-19 shutdown. The ride was tested for a while during the winter, but to our dismay it never opened. Now American Dream was already struggling before the pandemic, but now they're pretty much stuck. They haven't been making their payments, and now they're in a very bad spot. They might not open in 2020, so that obviously rules out the possibility of a 2020 opening. My prediction is if or when they reopen, Sandy's Blasting Bronco will open 1 month after the park. Then again, that's a big if. So that's all the major named 2020 coasters and their current status. Do you have anything to say relating to any of these coasters? Feel free to post any thoughts down below. I just covered a lot there, so feel free to leave a like and let me know if you enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe if you've been enjoying the content, and if you think someone else might be interested in this, make sure to share this video. I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.